what everyone is kind of wanting to know now, we talked about where does this go next? Who stays, who goes of the expiring contracts, especially. I think you have an overlay for us, which will be nice here, but 14 expiring contracts, 9 of which are going to, again, be free agent listed, after 2025. So some huge names on the board here, Sam, if you want to start us off.
Yeah, obviously the big, as far as big earners, right? We've got the first 3 big earners that could be potentially coming off of the roster this off season, and starting with no bigger than Matt Miazga. He's got a club option for 26 that could be picked up. Guy is still, 30 years old. But Ryan, is he injury prone? I mean, right now we don't really know. Haven't seen Matt Miazga at full health in almost 2 years, right? So this guy's making $1.5 million a year. So likely, if he were to come back, you gotta get him on a better, more team friendly deal, I would imagine.
Yeah, I think we'll talk about our stays and goes here in a minute. Let's kind of walk you through. We had Kubo as the next high earner, Hadebe almost making $1 million as well. Brian Anunga had played and started in 19 matches this season, maybe a lot more than what we were even expecting, but played in 30 MLS games too. Brad Smith, unfortunately, had a pretty bad injury. I don't know if we'll see him back, but Alvis Powell, again, just has been solid depth for this team. You can talk you want and nitpick, but has really kind of been there in some key moments for this team. Leroux is proven that he is that second keeper, maybe even, getting some shouts for, first team minutes in that starting goalkeeper spot for other teams too. So it'd be nice to protect him. Jimenez, another young player that him and Kenji, both that I think we could both agree upon being back. But Kai Kamara, veteran player, didn't really see him down the stretch. And then we'll touch on our loan guys here, especially because these guys, 3 of them at least, were later on now, in the season, with Brenner, with Marzu coming from RSL, and Jabari. So if these guys don't have their, loans picked up, then they're gone. And then Engel being the other big staple there. So let's start, Sam. Let's see what you got for your stays, or what guys are we going to bring back in on contracts?
Yeah, so I mean, I flip flopped on a lot of these, and my attitude could flip flop as well. Given the opportunity that Ryan is able to give his, but I believe looking at yours, looking at mine, we've only got like 2 different ones. So as far as stays for me, I think Matt Miazga stays, but I don't think he's as important as we think, right? Like you mentioned earlier, if Matt Miazga would have made an impact in this Miami game. No, I don't think he would have, right? I still think same outcome, if not maybe 2-0, 3-0. But however, if we can get him on a little bit lower contract, he should stay, in my opinion. You look at a guy in I think Engel gives us defensive flexibility. I think he should stay. He's also 26. He's entering his prime. So you really want to get him during that time. Obviously, Brenner wants to be here. It's a no-brainer to find a way. That's the biggest question mark, is finding a way to get him on this roster. Alvis Powell, good depth piece and friend of the podcast. So gotta say that. But obviously, like the way he can kind of be versatile as well. Like you said, Leroux, probably best backup goalkeeper in the MLS if you had to kind of put it out there. And then Jimenez needs more minutes, in my opinion, to be a formidable backup for Buka. So those are my stays, Ryan. If you kind of want to give your stays and we'll go goes, or what do you want to do?
Yeah, I'll do my stays as well. A lot of the same. It's crazy to look at 14 different players and a lot of these guys with like meaningful minutes this season for this team. So year to year, I want to put this out as a blanket statement of I hate having so much turnover. Like from last year to this year, so much turnover in the roster. But that's the way the MLS is kind of in some ways. And if we're going to pay these guys high, like, can we afford to keep doing that as well? So that's where we're going to have to maybe say, hey, I hope you've enjoyed your time here. Would you mind taking a little bit less to stay with this team? And that's where I want to start with Matt Miazga, because I love Matt. I think he has been just the model center back for us. He won Defender of the Year, but he lost a step this year. He got injured, and that's, again, part of the game, part of playing sports. And when you come off a major injury, it takes you a full year, sometimes longer, to become yourself again. He's 30, 31. So can he get back to that same level? I think he's got some of the components to do it. Sam, if we could even put him on like a right center back spot, would that even be better than, the center position, or even as a sub? Like it all comes down to if we can agree to a lower contract and if Matt's willing to accept that. But it goes without saying, the leadership qualities that he brings is unlike any other player we've seen, for this club. Even the way that Lucho was a captain and a leader was different than Matt. And some of our best moments have come with him. So it'd be a real shame to see him go. I see a lot of slack out there, and I hate to see it about Matt Miazga, because for all the antics he's had, for all the moments where he's not been there in the playoffs, like, it's not by him not wanting to be there, I think. From what we know, from a general understanding, from a public standpoint, I think Matt loves this team, and I really hope that can work out if it is best for the club.
He loves the city as well. Sure. You saw in that little feature, right? His daughter was born in Cincinnati, right? So obviously already it's got, a meaning to him. This is where his family is living right now. So it obviously, like you said, but who else is staying for you?
Sorry, I went on a tangent there. Brian Anunga, again, a guy that we brought in on a supplemental, just a great contract last year, but would be a senior roster spot position this year. So again, like, he's going to get a pay raise if he stays. Hopefully it is not one that sets us off. And for, again, a supplemental guy, I guess, or a guy off the bench, you don't want to have to spend too much money for, because we've seen how that's worked. Albus Powell, I think, would be nice again for backup. Leroux, I've talked about. And then I think, it comes down to the lone guys with Brenner for sure. Engel's the biggest no-brainer of all of these, because of all the games that he started and played. He's shown his quality. I think Jabari's earned a contract. I don't think he's our starting striker, but he is definitely the most energy we have off the bench, besides if Ender does. And then Jimenez, they seem to really like him. So that's my stays. I'll roll into my goes, and then we'll go to yours, Sam. So if we look at it now, shout out to Yuya Kubo. You had one heck of a career for FC Cincinnati, one of the most memorable players, but I think this guy's going to retire. Probably will go back to Japan, but leaves the orange and blue like one of the best citizens, in Cincinnati, but loving the orange and blue. He put out his post today saying how much he was wanting to play for the fans. Like, there's one other player that had a post. So Kubo loves Cincinnati. I love that. I just think it's time. Hadebe, I believe, is looking to be sold. There's some rumors about that with Turkey being interested, even going back a month ago, if you want to go check some of our tweets. So we'll see kind of where that goes. But him swapping jerseys, Sam, does that again kind of tip his card that maybe I'm not going to be here that much longer? I'm going to try to swap jerseys while I can. Brad Smith, I think, is likely gone. And then Mamba Dem, I said gone, but I think he's going to go back to FCC2. Kamara and Marzouk, because Marzouk didn't hardly even play, and neither did Kamara at the end of the season.
Yeah, not bad there. The only two that I disagree with there, Ryan. First off, on Kubo, like you said, I don't think he'll retire, but he'll probably go back to Japan and play, or if he can find a spot somewhere over in Europe. I just don't think he stays, obviously, in the United States or anything like that. If he does go, which, like you said, club legend, he really is. So Kamara, I think, should retire. I think Kai should probably hang it up. Ryan, like I said earlier, this was the first season in his career that he didn't score a goal. That's first crazy. Season in his career, right?
It's like cursed. Like he was supposed to come to this team, and then we traded him away, and then he came back, and like he hit the woodwork how many times?
Clearly there was a reason.
Bad juju going on there.
Yeah, Kai and FC Cincinnati, I guess, just weren't meant to be. But I kind of see Mboma Dem, honestly, taking a similar path that Ordonez had. I think maybe going overseas. I know he had gone to maybe like Denmark, maybe, or somewhere over there. So I kind of see if he were to leave this offseason, that's kind of how I see it going. Maybe going to France, lower leagues, and so. Yeah, like you said, Hadebe, he's already been rumored to be sold already. So I think he's probably on his way out. Anunga, I honestly, This one's interesting for me. Like you had said, if he does come back as a senior roster spot, and I just don't think he's worth it because you clearly brought in Samuel Giddey to be his replacement already, even though Anunga was playing great and Anunga lost his spot and latter half of the season hardly ever played, right? So a little tough for me to actually see Cincinnati possibly bringing him back. Jabari, I don't know. It's a toss-up for me. I think there is something there. He showed good energy, good like hold-up play and everything. I just don't know, is there room for him? With Brenner coming back, and if Denke stay, like there's a lot of things in his way for him to come back, but I think things would have to be figured out before, and I just don't know if we have that amount of time, right, to figure that out. So
he's a younger player that for me, like put in a ton of work up top though, which as big as he is, like is kind of what we wanted with Kai Kamara, who's just like an older player.
Yeah.
So if you can bring him in on a club friendly deal, like I think that's kind of in my way a no brainer, as long as the players with like, okay, understanding you're not going to probably start because we have these guys, but look at what he could potentially bring. Like that's a different aspect, Sam, that profile, a 6'6" striker like that, who can work his butt off. You don't see that too much in soccer. Like you really just don't. Mm-hmm. So I think there's some value with him if they can mold him, and he's going to be at a lesser price than what Kevin Kelsey was, when he ended up going to Portland. I think he wanted like $5 million or something like that. But Sam, this is really interesting. We want to give everyone who's listening some context here. Brenner obviously is on loan from Udinese, and right now the question obviously is he going to stay? Do we have room? Sam, we had a talk with Laurel Failer about a month ago about this. We're going to roll this clip for you guys to hear, but it's pretty interesting.
But yeah, it'll just be interesting because it's like, well, if Brenner is here, then who's not? Because
he's not staying on a TAM deal.
No, I mean, the purchase option, from what I'm told, is about $6.2 million. So there's no way he could not be a DP next year. And my understanding is, like, there's been speculation that, well, maybe the league is adding a fourth DP. I've kind of been asking around, and nobody's like, maybe they're just keeping it really quiet. But from what I can tell, that's not the plan. So we'll see. I mean, I don't believe that they could have brought Brenner back without there being some plan of, well, this could happen and you could stay. Like,
right.
So
especially with how much you're seeing, him being happy here now too, especially.
Yeah. Well, he wants to stay he's already like jotted down his goals through like 2029. Like he wants to stay. So awesome. that's great for FC Cincinnati because he is motivated. Like, you want a motivated player.
That's really telling. I remember a conversation with her and what she said, and obviously this has been about a month now, but you could see it the way he played then part of the season. Like Brenner wants to be here, and $6.2 million is steep, and it would require a DP. So, Sam, if Brenner is planning on staying for several more years, what does that say about Kevin Denke right now?
I know. It's a shame because Kevin Denke just won our community award, right, for FC Cincinnati. So obviously the impact that he has on and off the pitch is says something, but also Brenner, right? Brenner immediately got to FC Cincinnati, back to Cincinnati and goes to the Bearcats game, right? Goes to support the city. So you've got two guys that want to be your number 9, and right now somebody's number 8 and somebody's number 9. So there's going to have to be a fight for it, on the roster, and it is tough, Ryan. I think ultimately we'll touch on it a little bit more probably in the coming weeks, but you got to look tactically. You got to use your head on this one and not go with your heart or go with your pocketbook. Obviously, your pocketbook says just sell Denke and get Brenner because it'll be cheaper. But yeah, I don't know. It's a tough situation that FC Cincinnati is put in, and like Laurel said, there's not really any signs that the MLS is going to give us a fourth DP anytime soon.
Yeah, and besides that option, there's a lot floating out there. Will players that are in the World Cup not occupy a DP spot? Maybe that's why, Chris Albright made Miles Robinson a DP, because we're all wondering why. Maybe that's why. But the MLS comes out with their schedule recently, and none of our matches are going to be going on during that time. So I think that might negate any chance of that. So now we're looking at Miles Robinson as a DP, Evander as a DP, and is it Brenner or is it Denke? And if you want to, I hate to say this, if you want to make your number 10 happy, look at the chemistry he's had with Brenner compared to Denke, Sam. I think like if they can get a pretty penny for Denke, he's had interest over in Europe before. I think like that's more likely. Another part of this too is Denke is renting his house here. He does not own his house. So there is a higher chance that he is already thinking. He said it before we came.
You've got a guy
looking to move on. I love Kevin Denke, Sam. He had 18 goals for us not 18 goals. He had 15 goals for us this season. I think he's a great striker, a great player, a great human being, a great representative of this club. But if we're going to have to move forward, I think there's going to be some hard decision that will be needed to be made about Kevin Denke, unfortunately.
No, yeah, and it is tough. It is. And you don't want to sit here and go, man, we got to sell this player, that player, but that's the reality of the roster decisions that have to be made on Wednesday. So I don't, fault Chris or anybody that has to make those decisions because it's probably really tough.